Hi everyone, welcome to another house building video in the Sims 4. Well, today we're building a Wild Western themed building. So basically I'm working on like a Wild West town at the moment, and I thought to myself, where would you start with a Wild West town? And I decided to start with, with the saloon. It's kind of like the staple of most kind of Wild West style towns, at least from like the research that I've done. Pretty much every Wild West town would have some kind of saloon. Interestingly, though, they wouldn't always necessarily look like a saloon, and they may just be like an old farmhouse that's been turned into like a saloon. They weren't always necessarily built specifically as a saloon to start with. Um, but in this one that I'm building, like I wanted it to look like it was always built as a saloon, so that's why it looks like. Well, I hope it looks like a saloon in the end. I think it looked quite cool uh, in the final outcome, anyway. Um, Yeah, so like basically the reason for building this is I've been isolating for like the last few days. I haven't got COVID, but a lot of people that I've been in contact with have. So I've just been kind of like testing every day and kind of expecting to get it, but for some reason like I just haven't, like luckily I haven't got it. So and also the people that I'm with, they've got over it now. So that's a good thing. So hopefully I've avoided it this time. I've had all the vaccines, so hopefully touch wood, if I do get it, I shouldn't be too bad anyway. But I just didn't want to go out at the moment just because I thought there's a chance that I might have it. It just hasn't. I don't know. I just thought it was better not to go out while people I'm with potentially have passed over to me. But anyway, enough about that. But the reason I brought that up is because where I've been isolating, I've just had a lot of time at home for the last few weeks. So I've just been watching a lot of Western films and playing Red Dead Redemption 2 again, and it kind of inspired me to build a Western town. Some of the stuff is loosely based off like the games and films, but to be honest, it's kind of like my own take on a Western town because I don't want to recreate anything because I like recreating stuff, but as soon as you say it's a recreation, people are going to judge it on how much it looks like the original as opposed to how good of a build it is. And because I'm not recreating anything, there's no need to judge it based on that. I guess you can judge it on how authentically Western it is. As I say, I've done a bit of research, but um, I haven't done extensive research, so there may be a couple bits in here that are like, oh, that wouldn't be like that in a real Western place. But it is what it is. So, um, but when I say I try to make it authentic, like I even went as far as not to really include any too many electrical items. Like I'd say this was probably built in like the 1880s, 1890s. So there's a possibility that electricity was on the way at least for this building. Um, and obviously it's in a modern town, so I guess you could argue that they would have electricity now, uh, if you look at it that way. But I just tried to make it as authentic as I could. There is actually a karaoke machine in here, which obviously is powered. Unfortunately, this lot type is a karaoke bar because I didn't want to make it just a regular bar because I thought it would be quite fun as a karaoke bar. Um, but to do that, you have to have the karaoke machine, and I was like, well, it's only one object. I can live with that. And if you really don't want that in it, you could always download it, delete the karaoke machine, and then I guess that solves the issue. Yeah, just building the saloon. One thing that I did notice about all the pictures I was looking at is that saloons tend to be two floors, but they tend to have like a atrium balcony with inside the saloon, and they always have like a veranda deck on the outside. So that was something that I wanted to kind of put across as well. Unfortunately, like they don't have the classic saloon doors in the game, and because I don't use custom content, it just wasn't going to happen. I hope they do bring those doors into the game because they are pretty cool. Although, like, it's one of those objects, unless you're doing like a saloon build, you probably wouldn't use it. But I don't know, it'd just be nice to have the option to use it because it would have made a big difference, I think, on the look of this build. But it is what it is. Doesn't have it, so I use those doors instead. And the cool thing about them doors is it's quite hard to show you in the video, but if you zoom like far into those doors, the texture of them, they're quite like they look old, that they look worn, they've been used, which is I think pretty cool as well. As you can see at the moment, we've also got three buildings in this lot. The one on the very end originally was going to be the bank, but I've kind of thought about it and I was like, you know what, I don't want this to have be like a multi-purpose lot. I just want it to be a karaoke saloon bar. Saying that, there is the hotel on it as well because it just fitted well, and also although you can't use hotels in this game, having the hotel built next to the saloon is quite useful in gameplay because you've got the beds in there for whatever you want to get up to on a night out. I'll leave that to your imagination. But yeah, so I just thought, you know what, it makes sense to have the hotel. Like, we're gonna have to have the hotel, so we'll put it next to the saloon. Because often in Wild Western towns, you'd get the cowboys traveling through, or you get bandits traveling through, so they need somewhere to stay. So this would be where they would stay. The other thing I tried to do is include a lot of fireplaces in the build. So all the bedrooms in the hotel have fireplaces. The saloon itself has a fireplace, and a lot of the photos I looked at, all the buildings sort of have fireplaces as well, which makes sense because they didn't really have central heating back then. So to keep warm, you'd obviously need the fireplace. And another feature as well is there won't actually be any toilets in the building itself. As you can see, there's that outbuilding on the side, just where the bank was that's been demolished. That's the toilet block essentially, because that's what they used to have back in the day. I actually did a bit of research on that, and what they used to do apparently is pretty disgusting. But they would dig a trench, put like the outbuilding on top of it, wait for the trench to fill up, and then move it along. Um, Obviously, in The Sims, trying to that physics doesn't really need to exist because like you have running water and stuff. So I compromised and I just put a fixed outbuilding there. And then I just put a toilet and like a really basic sink in there, just so it was functional, but it still felt like you were living in the West. The other thing you'll notice as well about the outbuilding is I built it on a platform, and the reason I've done that is because I'm using like the medium height walls for the saloon, and then to carry on using medium height walls for an outbuilding, it just looked a bit odd and out of place. So that's why I put the platforms there, so it makes the building look shorter than it actually is, because the platforms kind of raise the building up, but the walls are still just, it's complicated, but if you know what I'm talking about, you'll know what I mean. It's sort of just like a little trick that you can use, because otherwise you just end up with this really tall outbuilding and it just it didn't look right in my opinion. And also looking at a lot of pictures, there's a lot often like these Western buildings have a lot of decks around, and I think the reason for that is probably not so much in the desert, but I think in like more Western, like in rainy towns, they obviously got quite muddy, and it just kind of it stops like the dirt and grime getting into the buildings itself. As far as I'm aware, just putting loads of pictures on the walls as well, because that is another feature. There's quite a lot of pictures. There's not many good Western pictures in the game, so I ended up using quite a lot of the pictures from the cats and dogs pack because they just sort of, I don't know, they had that vibe that they looked like they could have been Western. The other one that also helped is, I can't remember the name of the pack, but the one with the magic stuff in it, that one as well. As you can see in this second floor in the saloon, I'm trying to add like these curtains in, and it was just basically to make it, to kind of hide that kind of section of the building there. Because originally it's like a gambling area, but the curtains didn't look great, so I just got rid of them. But in some states, they used to hide like where people would gamble, so I was going to do that, but I just didn't in the end. Um, I did put curtains there, but I just didn't put them across. So you can kind of use your imagination. Maybe like those curtains should be drawn out. I don't know. Whatever you want to do. You could download this lot and turn it into whatever you like. You could even demolish it and rebuild something else, and then it would be a completely different build. So yeah, interesting. But yeah, they had like this weird space out the front, and it was a difficult space to build in. Well, I say out the front, it's more out the back, on the side. Well, it's at the back of the lot, but it's on the side of the building. I didn't know what to put in there. Looking at a lot of pictures and stuff, I then realised I was like, well, a lot of Western places they have like stables and kind of animal areas, so kind of like it's almost like an animal market here. But obviously, it's just got the one stable. But if I could have fitted more stables into that space and it looked good, I would have. But it didn't look good with any more, so I just kept with the one. But yeah, it was a weird place to build in because you've got like the deck on the side, so you're building with that as well. So you kind of want to make it look natural, but also kind of incorporate the deck as well. So that's why the stable kind of ended up being the best thing to put there. Using again a lot of the live edit object, uh, live edit object cheat objects. That's a mouthful to say. Basically, the cheat live edit build bb dot show live edit objects lets you get some of those fences, which you can, but if you place them at the edge of the lot, I just think it looks better. Just my opinion, but you know, each their own there. But yeah, just building the stable up. Use platforms again in here just to kind of so that when you are playing the game, when I notice when you go down to that level, it looks quite messy with like all the kind of like the building being smaller than the building around it. So just try to make it look cleaner for like gameplay purposes, which I think it does actually, to be fair. And then yeah, just add in more details. Ends up being like a really nice lot um, when it's finished. I think it looks very authentic. I wasn't sure. Like, I'm adding these kind of corrugated steel, kind of almost like a veranda. I'm not sure if they had corrugated steel in the Old West or not. Like I could have researched it, I didn't, but at the same time there was nothing else that was going to kind of hide the gap between the stable roof and the roof that I put in. So I was like, you know what, I'm just going to put that there anyway. Um, Again, if you want to make it really authentic, you can delete it, but you don't need to. And then we just added some rock work here, so it kind of looks like a split level build, even though it's not. I just kind of wanted it to look like they've done like a split level job. And then now we're going into the saloon itself. Got the quintessential authentic round wooden tables that seem to be a staple of every kind of saloon. Um, and I made sure they were quite spaced out because I noticed in a lot of Western places they haven't got much furniture. And it's quite nice to have a lot of space anyway for gameplay, so it actually worked quite well. And then just added some nice comfy armchairs because there's a couple bookcases and stuff. And also actually, but I don't think I'm not sure if there's footage of it, but there's also like a barber's. Yeah, here it is. Where these mirrors are going. This is like a little barber shop, and this was copied basically straight out of the saloon in Valentine in Red Dead Redemption 2, where the saloon's also a barber shop. Same kind of idea, obviously slightly different aesthetic, different design, but it's the idea comes from that. So that's what I mean by drawing inspiration, kind of just layouts and stuff. Not so much the actual look of the builds, but just kind of the similar ideas in terms of what the buildings are used for. And then yeah, so soon we should be heading on to the hotel. Just adding the lights as well, actually. The lighting in this build makes a big difference. If you get the lighting right, then the building's going to look a lot better. Like, you don't want to have too much harsh lighting. You just want kind of like candle lights, just like the really kind of dim shades. At first, they look a bit weird, but once you get used to it, you're kind of like, oh, actually, this has a really cool atmosphere. Just adding a kitchen as well, just because like a lot of Western places would sell food as well. And then this is the basement, the cellar where the drinks go. I put those pipes directly underneath where the bar is above. Thought that was a cool idea because that's where you maybe fill up the gas for the draft beer or if you wanted to top up the beer. So I just thought it was a cool idea. Just sort of worked quite well. And then I put a coffin in there as well. So if you do play with vampires, for once I've catered for you, you can actually sleep in this lot. Or it's just quite creepy to have a coffin down in the basement, I don't know. It's just a little mystery. And then we are moving on to like this weird little office room. Not really sure why I included that, but it was sort of just a space there. And I thought, well, you probably need a little bit of an office just to maybe do the books, the accounts. And then in this little cupboard there, I just put a bunch of musical instruments. It's kind of basically a storage cupboard. Now we're building the lobby to the hotel. This is quite an interesting bit to do because there's not a lot to this lobby. It's literally just a desk and a couple of chairs. But I think the end result looks quite nice. Again, just add in more bits of detail. I'd be interested to know, like, sometimes I furnish a room and then decorate it, or sometimes I decorate a room and then furnish it. I'm just curious in the comments if you, which way you do it would be good to, I'm just interested if you decorate first or furnish first. And yeah, just add in the bedrooms, all pretty similar stuff really. As it's a hotel, so the bedrooms would be pretty similar just because the rates in the rooms are the same, like they're not like, there's not like a luxury suite as some people would call it. But yeah, that's pretty much the build done. This is the first part of this western town. There are going to be more builds coming soon. They're actually already built, so if you go into my gallery, the link to that will be in the description. I need to start adding it to the description because I don't do that. But yeah, the link will be in the description. So if you want to download this build and you want to check out those before the videos come out, the other ones, my gallery is the place to do that. But apart from that, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.